Hi, I'm Shoestring Jane. Welcome back to my channel where I talk about all things thrifty, frugal and sustainable. And today I just sort of apologise for looking a bit sweaty because even sitting still, it's just such a hot day today that it's making me feel absolutely boiling. Me and Archie went out really early. I think I was out the door at 7 a.m, but I'm thinking tomorrow and Saturday and Sunday when it's due to be even hotter, I think I'm going to be out the door at 6:30 latest and get him for his walk and do his ball time and then wait until the evening and have a evening walk. It's the only way to do it. So I'm stupidly having a cup of tea because I feel like I need the pick-me-up, but that's making me sweat even more. So perhaps it's not the best idea. I think when I saw you last and I was talking about me and Justin going off to York for a long weekend, and we did that and it was really good. It was very successful. York's a really nice city, very interesting. It was quite warm again, but we saw lots of things, just really enjoyed ourselves. It's a really nice city to go and visit, lots of history and lots of things to see, nice shops and things. We were very keen once we'd got there and obviously paid our accommodation, which is never cheap, especially not in York. It's quite expensive. I remember I did shop around at the time and the bed and breakfast we stayed at seemed to be, one of the better options really. But it is, obviously it's expensive. Plus I've mentioned in previous videos that we've had a lot of expense, so we didn't want to go crazy whilst we were there. So we did a lot of the free things that some of you had suggested in the comments. So thank you very much to those of you that did that. And we did things like we kept our food costs down because obviously it was bed and breakfast, so we got our breakfast, but we had to do lunch and dinner somewhere. So rather than going out for a meal every evening, we were popping into a supermarket and getting some sort of ready meal. There was a microwave we could use at the bed and breakfast, and they were very kind about leaving plates and cups and knives and forks and that sort of thing. So it was good. It was fine. We could do that. We could go and cook our ready meal, take it up to our room and sit and watch telly. We were watching, because Justin's cancelled his Netflix because we're cutting back on things. He doesn't feel that we use it enough, and we don't really. And I think he was paying for the girls as well, doing the expensive one, and it had gone, the sort of friends and family one, it had gone up to £21. And then he spoke to the girls and they said, oh, we don't really use it much. So Chloe's got Paramount Plus and Disney that she pays for, so she's the richest of all of them, of all of us actually. So we're all signed into those now. So so we've got rid of Netflix. But before we did that, we wanted to watch Department Q. So again, somebody in the comments, and I can't remember who, sorry, recommended it and to watch it, and it was really, really good. So while we're away, we used the Netflix at the bed and breakfast and we watched the whole lot, because it was 9 episodes and we watched the whole lot while we were there. So that's what we did in the evenings while we were having our ready meals, which is, honestly, we're such swinging dudes. We don't go out boozing and that sort of thing. So we were quite happy after walking around all day, every day, seeing as much as we could, to just go and relax in the evening. So we kept it cheap doing that. We got the bus in and out. Luckily we're on a bus route and the buses came very, very often. So we didn't have to pay for parking. Parking in York, if you've ever been, is ridiculous. I don't think I've ever come across a more expensive car parking system. So the council think it's okay to charge. I was looking at one of the car parks in the city centre. If we'd wanted to park for 2 hours, it would have cost us £12.50. I think it was slightly cheaper if you went for longer, in that it wasn't an hourly rate, hourly rate of £6.20 or whatever. I think it actually, if you did a whole day, it was £30 but £25-30 to park for the day, whereas we could get in and out for like £2.50. So that's what we did. We got the bus. So we're trying to keep it cheap doing that as well. We walked the walls, that didn't cost us anything, and that was a great way of seeing the city. And we started quite early and it was a fairly cloudy day, so luckily it wasn't too hot. We went up the Minster, so we paid to go in the Minster, which was £20 I think each, and we paid a further £6 to go up to the top of the Minster, but it was really worth it. I think if you're going to pay to go in, you may as well pay for that. If you can manage the steps, there were 275 steps, I think. I mean, although I was kind of at the 4-week mark post-op, I probably shouldn't have done it. I was all right. I was fine. I was really tired afterwards, but my surgeon probably would have said, I think it's too soon for you to walk 275 medieval steps up to the top of York Minster. But I really wanted to, and it was so worth it. It was very cool up there. It was very windy, but you got such a great view. And we recovered really quickly, because although I got halfway up and there was a kind of little passageway where you walked along to the next staircase, I was glad of that. And I was thinking, oh my God, that's 120 odd steps. I've got to do the rest. I hope I'm not going to expire. We got to the top and we were both out of breath, but we both recovered really quickly, whereas other people were having to sit at the bench at the top and go. There were a couple of blokes who were similar age to us, and they did look in worse shape. So all the dog walking up and down hills in the area that we live in, it's obviously done us some good, so we did all right. So yeah, York was good. We also went to Harlow Carr Garden. One of the other guests in the bed and breakfast had suggested it, and if you don't know, it's an RHS, Royal Horticultural Society garden, and we've been to 3 of the 5, and so that would have been the 4th. There's one apparently in Manchester, which I think must be a new one, because I don't remember that being a garden that existed at all when we belonged. We haven't actually had a membership for about 5 years, because we've had the dog, and if we go out for the day, we tend to want to take the dog with us, and you can't take the dogs into the gardens except on special days, so we haven't bothered. So this time obviously we didn't have the dog with us, so we went, and again, that cost money to go in. I think it was £16.50, but it was beautiful garden. Absolutely the best one, I think. Of the 4 we've seen, we decided it was the nicest. And obviously it's peak season, really lots of flowers, absolutely gorgeous. So I will insert at this point a few little bits and bobs of York, and maybe I'll put a few more at the end as well. I don't want to bore you with York if you're not interested, but I'll do that now. These are lovely. Nice little stream. Go and put my feet in that. Do you think they'd mind? Beautiful irises up there. How lovely. What a lovely garden. And the garden itself, Harlow Carr, wasn't in York itself. It was about, 45, 50 minutes away at Harrogate, which is, we did go into Harrogate and have a little look around afterwards as well. And it was very genteel. And there's obviously a lot of money about, both in York actually and in Harrogate. And we've thought that even with the cost of coffees and things like that, it was just very expensive. So it must be hard if you have a very low income and you live somewhere that's very affluent like that. But it is also really easy to look at other people and how well they seem to be doing and think everybody's doing better than me. I mean, obviously in my case, probably a lot of people are doing better than me, because I've chosen a lifestyle where I don't earn a lot of money, but I don't spend a lot of money. And I'm lucky that I can do that because I don't have housing costs. The mortgage is paid off. If you've got to pay rent, then so much of your income, if you haven't got a very big income, is probably going on accommodation, same as you've got a mortgage. It's really hard, and I totally appreciate that it's hard, but it can be it can feel quite demoralising, I think, when you look at other people who you think, even just the people around you, not just necessarily when you go to visit quite affluent places, just look at the people around you and think, well, they're all doing better than me. And I felt like that in the past as well, but I always tell myself, is everyone better off than me? Or is it just a lie? For example, you look on social media and it can feel like people are doing really, really well. Especially if you follow influencers who like to buy stuff, or like to have stuff. I don't follow those, but every now and then I'll look online and I look at people like Hannah Alonso, and she does these kind of roundups of people on TikTok, influencers on TikTok, who just buy stuff and buy just ridiculous amounts of stuff, or they don't, they're gifted it probably. And the amount of stuff that they have is staggering. Like in their bathrooms, they do these restocking videos in their bathrooms for cosmetics and have more cosmetics than most of us could use in a lifetime, just all in the bathrooms. Same in their kitchens, you know, they have cans of drink and sweets and ice lollies and coffees and things like that, all just stacks and stacks of them. And it, you know, it's not real. Nobody has and uses that much stuff. They are doing it for content. If they buy it, it's tax deductible. Most likely they're gifted an awful lot of it. They show those brands, and they, even if they don't actually recommend those brands, the fact that they're using them, it could be that actually that's even a paid for thing. And people don't always say when they have a sponsorship, and they should do. And it's getting better, I think, in some respects, but it's still the case that people they're not always transparent. And I know, because I get companies constantly, PR companies, and I'm only very, very small influencer with my blog and this video channel, constantly asking me if I would work with them and do I declare that things are sponsored. And I always say, yes, I do declare. If you're paying me, then I'm going to declare it. And I'm also, you know, not going to do things that I don't agree with, that don't go with my channel. And you know, that you never hear from them again. So PR companies are working illegally in the system. So social media is a lie. It may seem like everyone's always on holiday or bungee jumping or redecorating their house or restocking their house or whatever, but you know, they're not. And they may seem like they have a perfect life and they have new everything all the time. But it's not real. It's for content. It's to get us to look at it. Sometimes it's not even, they don't even want our approval. Sometimes they're doing it for hate, because it's all good for their algorithm. So lots of people looking, commenting, sharing, even if they're saying this is hideous, look at this as an awful example of consumerism or whatever they're doing. You know, even if people are really criticising, it's all really good for the algorithm. They get more adverts, they get paid more, TikTok pays them, you know. So you got to remember that social media is a lie if you are looking at that and judging yourself against different influencers. And the other thing is that, you know, people who, maybe you're young and you've got people who are already buying property. I mean, I know some of the girls, their friends have got property already, and some have even got rental properties already in their 30s and early 30s, late 20s. But I know for a fact that their parents have helped them out. So they've either had an inheritance, or their parents are quite loaded and they have paid their deposit for them, or they've even bought a rental property for them so they can rent it out, and they might have their own mortgage, but they've got an income from the rental property. I know that. So it may be, if you're looking and judging yourself against other people, that is a similar case. You don't know what they've inherited. You know, do they come from money? If you come from money, everything's so much easier. You know, if you're starting from scratch, from nothing, everything is harder. Doesn't mean you can't achieve things. Doesn't mean you can't. It's just that you can't judge yourself. It's not a level playing field, and you can't judge yourself against those who have had a bit of a leg up. But it does remain the case that sometimes people are just better off. They have better jobs, or they, for whatever reason, they are just better off than you. And you just have to focus on your wins, don't you? You have to focus on what you like doing and, you know, enjoy your life and stop comparing yourself to other people. And so get over it, you know, move on, because you need to focus on yourself and what's good for you. So, and this is my approach really. I think, okay, you know, this is our holiday. It was 4 days in York, which is up the road. It's not expensive. It's probably going to be the only holiday we have this year, I think, anyway, at this point, unless something really develops. But I'm lucky to have had that weekend. I really enjoyed it. It was really good. We saw some really interesting things. We also had tea at Betty's Tea Rooms, which was lovely. And it was a real treat, and it was upstairs, and there was a pianist playing in the background, and the tea itself was lovely. The staff were fantastic. It's not something I would do every day, but the girls paid for Justin's for a birthday present, and then we just had to pay for mine, so it was good. But you know, you just have to look at your wins, as I say, and you have to look at what you enjoy, and know that you're probably still better off than other people. 1 second. Sorry, that was the dog was crying because Dora the cat, who's a really big hench cat, would not let him come down the stairs. Honestly, she bullies him. He bullies the little cat Lola, and she bullies Archie. They're a comic duo. Anyway, he's fine now. He's lying down on the sofa in front of the fan that I put for him because he just does not like this hot weather at all. So anyway, going back to my subject of, just thinking about your own wealth, if you like, thinking about wealth not just in terms of money. And I do think that, it is obviously you're only going to focus on money if you don't have enough to pay your rent, or if you're in massive debt, or, if you can't afford to feed your family. And there's a lot of that about, unbelievably, there is a lot of that about in the UK now and beyond. I know from talking to people from other countries and from your comments as well, this is happening. But for those of us who can afford to do those things, then stop just thinking about success in terms of money and stuff and status and status symbols, and think about it in terms of your happiness. I mean, a lot of the people that I do follow on social media that I enjoy following are people who live super simple lives, and they might live in a van, or there's a couple, they're called log hoppers. I don't know if you've seen them at all. I could never do this at all, but they're proper nomads. They live in a tent. They live in the tent all through winter, and they travel right around the UK, and they do work here and there for people, and they live a very simple life. Stuff is not important to them. They seem pretty happy, and they've got a lot of followers actually now. I think other people are switching on to kind of that idea that, happiness doesn't come to you in the shape of stuff. And although they don't call themselves homeless, they call themselves houseless. If they wanted to get home, I'm sure they could. They're both young, they're both intelligent. Tara, the woman, is very, very talented. She showed some of her artwork before, and she's really good. So, if she wanted to make a living doing that, I'm sure she could. They're successful on YouTube, so I'm sure they make some money from YouTube now as well. So, but they still live a simple life, and their priorities are not the same as somebody who lives in a very posh house in Harrogate, who potentially has to go and do a very grueling job every day, maybe has to travel away from their family all the time. You just don't know what people's circumstances are, do you? So I just like to keep these things in perspective and count my blessings. So that's what I would say, really, when you're feeling kind of discontent, is see what you can do to make yourself happy, see what you can do. It may be that you feel like you need a break, and it may be that your break will be taking the car and a picnic with the family to the seaside. Great to do it in this weather, and that can be very, very cheap, and that can just give you a boost. You don't have to be away, do you? You don't have to be abroad. You can just travel out of your local area, go somewhere and enjoy yourself. So now I'm back to reality. I have continued to go through. When we came back, there was nothing obvious to eat, so I've been going through all of the cupboards to try and work out what we can eat. Obviously, I'd left a shop for the girls, and they had eaten most of those things, but we did manage to pull together, the night we got back, with Izzy, who is still here at that point, a pasta dish, just using up all the bits and pieces out of the fridge. So we've got very little in the way of fresh, and I'm just waiting on an online shop, which I did from Tesco's, a really small one. So I hit the £50 mark, because otherwise they're going to charge me £5 handling charge. So I got a few extra bits for the stores, and that will be it for this week. That is enough, and probably into next week as well. That does include the dog food and things like cat litter as well. I'm still eating out the cupboards, and I'm trying to eat just cheaply, I'm just doing things like, I've gone back to the things I used to make in my early vegetarian days, when I used to use a lot of lentils, and cheap as chips. Honestly, you can make such delicious cheap meals out of lentils and beans and that kind of thing. I can't eat a lot of beans, but I can eat lentils in moderation, and chickpeas. So it's so cheap. And red lentils, I think, are so nice and so versatile. So I'm going to do an old favourite, which was like a lentil gratin, which has got cheese on it, so it's not vegan. Lentil mushroom gratin, that's what it is. So I'm going to do that one day this week. That's part on my meal plan. And I'll probably also make a lentil soup, a batch of lentil soup for the freezer because it's easy. I know it's not really soup weather, but I can eat soup whenever. I'm quite happy to eat soup, whether it's hot or cold, really. So I'll make a batch of lentil soup. I also ordered a massive bag of wonky carrots. So when that arrives, I'll definitely need to use those. They'll be good in soup as well. So I also use a lot of carrots for carrot salad. So I'll get chives out of the garden, grate up lots of carrots and make a very simple dressing out of some oil, some cider vinegar, a spoonful of mustard and some salt and pepper. So I used to buy salad dressing in bottles. I now don't ever buy salad dressing because it's really easy to make and we just weren't using it quick enough. And so some salad dressing, when you look at the ingredients, it's horrible. It's so full of sugar. And that particularly applies to low fat dressings. I looked at some of them when I was doing Slimming World and they are just full of rubbish. And I thought, actually, it's much nicer for me to just dress my salads in with some lemon juice and salt and pepper or some balsamic vinegar and salt and pepper. So that's what I did. And now I don't buy any pre-prepared salad dressings at all. Yeah, where was I going with this? Yeah, so anyway, yes, I'm just keeping the spending down. So although obviously we spent more away, now I am going back to my spending freeze and I won't be buying anything except absolute essentials for the rest of June. Today is the 19th of June, so yeah, it's not that much of June left, so I'm not going to be spending anything at all. Luckily got no birthdays coming up because that's what killed us for the beginning of the month, didn't it? So anyway, that is really it. It's just a bit of a catch up from York, just talking about that kind of comparison thing and comparing yourself to others and wondering why they're all better off than you. Sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're in debt. Sometimes they just are. We just have to make the best of what we got, don't we? So that continues to be my theme for the month, making the best of what we've got, enjoying and appreciating what we have, enjoying life's simple pleasures, not buying anything, just buying nothing. Say not buying nothing. Sometimes I have to buy things. I've had to buy some food. Also had to buy some packaging materials. So I've been using bubble wrap for ages now because my mum moved and I collected all the bubble wrap from that, lots of the boxes. And then my next door neighbours had a big delivery and well, I can't remember what it was they got delivered actually, but it had so much bubble wrap. It was about 3 big black bags full of bubble wrap that they gave me and I'm still ploughing my way through those, but I had run out of things like tape and a bigger bubble wrap and corrugated card, which I'm trying to use as much as possible because it's a bit more eco-friendly. So I had to do some of those because when I came back I had 10 parcels to post from, even though I put my shop on holiday mode, I had 10 parcels, so which was great news. Obviously it's money in the bank, but it did mean I had a little frantic run around yesterday while I was trying to sort everything else out as well to get everything packed and posted out. So I did need to buy some supplies. So apart from that, anything that's not essential, I'm not buying. So, and I'm just trying to buy as little as possible. Anyway, I hope you're not boiling too much wherever you are in the world. I think it is just hot everywhere, isn't it, at the moment, particularly in the UK. And well, just enjoy it. You know, if you haven't got to go on a sweaty train every day, then just enjoy it. I will see you next time. Thank you very much for watching. If you've watched this far, don't forget to give me the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you don't already. You might want to check out my blog as well, shoestringcottage.com, because I'm about to sit down and write a blog post. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.